Hi everyone, I'm so glad that you're joining me on the yoga mat. My name is Dana and I'm going to guide you through a hip opening and strengthening series. You can see how I have a blanket, a yoga blanket open in the center of my sticky mat. I like the padding for what we're going to do today, which will be doing a few things from our back as well as a few things from the knees. So just plan accordingly for that. And if you, for standing poses, prefer using blocks, know that we'll be taking triangle pose and side angle pose today. All right, so go ahead and come onto your back. And start with your two knees bent. Let your spine lengthen on the ground underneath you and place your two hands onto your two thighs. Press your hands onto your thighs and gently roll your shoulders back and down. And from here, close your eyes and take a couple full deep breaths to start here. Center yourself in your body by feeling your breath in your body. Breathe into your hips. Breathe into your abdomen. Breathe into your back. And breathe into your chest. Center yourself with every breath that you take. Stay centered, calm, and focused. Place your right ankle onto your left thigh in a figure 4 stretch shape. Keep your right ankle on your left thigh and your hands on your two thighs. Gently press your two thighs with your two hands. This will give you a gentle hip and back traction. Keep your eyes closed as you breathe into your body and center yourself. Then release your right foot back down to the ground and switch. Left ankle, right thigh, and press. Press your thighs with your hands. Roll both of your shoulders back. Center yourself by breathing deeply into your hips, your abdomen, your chest. Another full deep breath in and out. Then take your left foot down onto the ground. Now, second round, right foot comes up onto the thigh. Press your two thighs with your two hands. Then bring both of your knees in towards your chest and let your hip open. Breathe into the stretch of the right hip. Breathe into your hips. Relax and breathe into your hips. Now, slide your right knee on top of your left knee so your legs are crossed. Grab your shins with your two hands or the backs of your legs, your hamstrings with your two hands, and gently pull the two legs in. If that feels too aggressive, just back it up a step or two. Relax as you stretch your hips. So this is a cow face pose, shape of the leg. You're going to grip your hands towards your feet, and that will intensify the cow face hip stretch portion. As I grip my feet, I roll both of my shoulders back and I lengthen my spine simultaneously. Again, if at any point the stretch gets to be too intense, just back it up a step. Then release your feet from your hands. Place your 2 feet to the ground, feet hips width apart. I'm not picking up into a full bridge Setu Bandha. I'm simply pressing both of my feet, and I'm lifting my hips up by just a couple of inches. And I'm going to evenly firm both hips. So I'm just neutralizing my hips after spending a fair amount of time stretching one side. Relax your neck and shoulders. Take another deep breath. 2 hips come down onto the ground. Left ankle, right thigh. Start by pressing your thighs away from you. Then bring your legs in towards you. Figure 4. Stretch. Deep breaths and stretch. So especially if this is a very strong stretch for your body, notice, can you relax? Can you relax any tension, any stress as it arises? Relax your face. Keep breathing. Now left knee can slide on top of the right knee. So it's like, so you're crossing your legs, and you might choose to grip the shins. You might choose to keep your hands towards your hamstrings. You might choose to just stay in figure 4. They're all perfectly fine options. Attempt to relax and breathe. Relax your face. Gently roll your shoulders back. Breathe into the stretch. So this is cow face shape in the legs. Next, would you grab for your feet or your ankles or your outer shins and begin to deepen the stretch. Relax into the stretch. Breathe into the stretch. And then will you let that second grip go and place both of your feet to the ground. One more time. Pick up the hips in a mild bridge posture. hips evenly. I feel even work between both of my hips. Place both of your hips down onto the ground. You can bring your 2 knees in towards your chest and roll to your side as you lift up for the next part. You can come back onto your back and repeat this series one more time. If what I'm going to show next is a little too much, you could also choose to keep one foot at the wall and do a little bit of stretch work like this. But I'm going to show a Purvottanasana variation with the hip opener. So Purvottanasana, intense stretch of the east or the front body. It's just the preparation stage, which is taking the hands back behind the hips. Notice how I have to roll my shoulders back and lift my chest, and I keep my elbows and my shoulders happy by pressing through my thumb, through my index finger, and finding that strong roll of the shoulders back. So just preparing the shoulders for another 4 to 5 deep breaths. And again, if you find this is too much in your body, you should just take one of the alternates that I presented just a moment ago. Okay? Another deep breath in and out. And then I let that Purvottanasana go. My right ankle comes onto my left thigh while I take that Purvottanasana arm. And notice how now I'm actually walking my arms in towards me. I'm weight bearing with my hands, with my arms, and again, notice how I roll my shoulders back and I lift my chest up. I feel my navel drawing towards my spine as I lift through the crown of my head. The more that I can walk my hands in towards me, the more my hip will open. And breathe. So I walk it out by taking my hands back. This is a great way, if it works in your joints, to strengthen your shoulders in extension. And then release right foot down. Second side, left foot and ankle coming up, shoulders rolling back, chest open. Notice how I get my shoulders and my chest in place, and then I try to keep it as I walk my hands in. In other words, sometimes I'll see people get a really good shape and then they're like, ugh, and then push. And so try, in other words, to keep that shape in your back as you walk in, walk in, walk in. Another 2 to 3 deep breaths with that second side. And walk your hands back out, let that go, and I'm going to turn towards you. As we do this one more time, hands behind, now you know the arm shape, right ankle to thigh. Bring your left foot in. I'm walking, walking, walking. I'm keeping my chest open. I'm feeling that stretch in my hip. Oh my goodness. Right foot, I'm going to roll a circle to the first direction, and if that hurts, if that tweaks anything in the knee or the hip, just don't do it. For me, this feels like a good work, and it actually changes the hip work a little bit. I need foot and ankle work a lot in my life as a human in this body, change the direction of the circle, so I try to sneak it in when I can. And then I let that foot come through neutral. I walk my hands back. I release right foot. Last side, okay? Left ankle, right thigh, chest open. Walk it in, walk it in, walk it in. Shoulders rolling back. Breathe into your hip, and perhaps taking some foot and ankle rolls. If you find that problematic for the knee, just skip it. Relax and breathe. The second side or second direction of the circle. I have to keep remembering, okay, roll my shoulders back. Oh my gosh, I'm fatiguing. I'm just gonna finish up those last little tight bits. This is my major problem foot. Work it out. And then I walk my hands back and I let that go. Okay, we're gonna low lunge. So, I'm a delicate flower, as some of you know, so I need padding for underneath my knees. If you're good, then great, okay? I'm tucking my toes under. I'll show it from the side first. So I'm tucking my toes under. Let's prepare the feet 3 times, forward and back, before we do the lunge work. Hands forward of the shoulders. I'm pushing my toes into the ground. I send my hips back towards my heels. When I go forward, I stretch all 10 of my toes back. I'm pulling my toes up, so my toes are really pointed. Hips back. Hips forward, toes tuck. Hips back. Hips forward, toes point, point, point. Hips back. Hips forward, toes tuck, and I'm really, really pulling those toes under first, then I send my hips back. And then I point, 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 and then I send it back. Did you get a foot cramp? I did. And then relax it. So I'm gonna now ask you to tuck your toes under, lift yourself up, take your right foot forward, send your 2 hips forward. We'll prepare this way a couple of times. Hips back, right leg back. I like to add a little foot and toe stretch. I know it's good for me, so I do it for myself, and then I take left leg forward. Deep breath. Hips back, left leg underneath you. I'm gonna give myself a little stretch of the toes. Let's do one more time each with that preparation. So right foot forward. I'm gonna ask you as you're here to look at the space around you as a circle. Where your right foot is right now, that's 12 o'clock. Press forward into the 12 o'clock range. Hips back, right knee underneath you. Left foot, and I'm gonna stretch my toes, good for me. Hips up and left foot forward. So I'm at 12 o'clock with my left foot if I'm looking at a clock face. And I move my hips forward. See how my navel's drawn to my spine as well? That's important as we're moving through this series. So bring it on back and knee underneath you, stretch the toes. Pick it up. Now I'm gonna face you. You're gonna keep up with that clock face. Notice how my feet and knees are hips width apart, but I am calling this 12 o'clock, but make sure your feet stay hips width. Right leg forward to 12 o'clock, okay? And I'm drawing my navel to my spine. When I bring my hips back, I'm gonna go to 1 o'clock, so I take my foot out to 1 o'clock, I draw my navel back, and I press forward with my hips. I'm anchored in my back toes as well. I know you can't see that part, but as I take my right foot out to 2 o'clock, I draw my navel to my spine. I externally rotate my right thigh and I gently press into my hip. Navel strong, and then I'm anchoring through my back toes. Right foot out to 3 o'clock. Externally rotate your thigh and press. I'm rolling my shoulders back, Then I'm gonna bring right leg back in underneath me, left leg forward, navel to spine. As you press right toes are tucked and firm. And bring it back, 11 o'clock with the left foot navel to spine. As you press and breathe. And bring it back, and left foot out once again. Spin your thigh, pressing into that 10 o'clock range as you spin your thigh into an external rotation. Preparing for triangle pose and side angle pose. Pull your hips back, leg back, and press into that 9 o'clock range. Bring the leg back underneath you. I choose to sit into my toes for a breath. And I pick up, right foot forward. 12 o'clock, navel to spine. 1 o'clock, press. 2 o'clock, press. 3 o'clock, I'm spinning my thigh. Now, I upright myself over my left knee. This is like a gate pose preparation, knee bend. See how I press my arm, I turn my chest. This already feels so good in my body, and I stretch that left arm up. So I'm looking for a stretch through this side. Notice how this hip stays over the knee while I side bend. Deep breaths. Deep breaths, 3. I'm reaching my right hand towards my instep. 2. My navel is drawn strongly in. 1. And then lift it up. Right leg back underneath you. Left leg forward, navel to spine, press. And again, foot out, navel to spine. Pressing into 11 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I'm externally rotating my thigh. And then I come back to gate pose with this right thigh parallel, left arm pressing. And again, for me, this already starts to feel really good. I need this kind of side body and rotation work. I'm also lifting my arm. So that said, you know, if this is enough, and like if you have really tight inner thighs, which you might have found out with this series, this might be enough. You could also start to reach. Notice how my chest is still forward. In other words, I'm not stretching and getting pulled towards the ground with my tightness. I'm working to counter that tightness as I stretch down, down, down. 3. And stretching. 2. Last deep breath. And then lifting, left leg underneath you. Sit into the toes. So last little bit, last little addition. Pick up. Right foot forward, 12 o'clock. Navel to spine. And then 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I'm externally rotating my thigh. Okay, so then I'm at the gate pose. This is fine. You could stay here the whole time, okay? But I'd like to give you a last little hip opening option. See how I'm coming into my gate pose. So now I start to move a bit differently in my hips and my torso. Notice how I'm pushing my right hand into my knee and my inner thigh back. Then my chest rotates towards my right leg. As the left hand comes down, press the knee backward, roll the shoulders back, and turn and breathe. Full deep breaths into the hips. Lengthen your spine, breathe and turn. come through center, I take my right hand also to the ground, and I roll my shoulders back, and I breathe. You could also choose to rest the hand on the thigh if you feel tight and you don't have blocks nearby. And you could just start to turn your chest towards the ground. My knee is still pressing backward. I take another full deep breath in and out. And then I upright myself. Right leg comes in. One more side. Left leg coming forward as you draw your navel to your spine. Bend forward, shoulders rolling back. And then 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock, I have to keep drawing my navel back. 9 o'clock, you're externally rotating the thigh. You come to your gate pose with a bent knee today. You could stay upright. This is great core work and hip work in itself. You could also side bend. I'm trying not to just place the weight into my bottom hand. I'm staying strong through my core. And then like we did on the first side, you're gonna press the leg. It's external rotation, pressing knee back, right hand to the ground. Lengthen through your spine and turn and breathe and lengthen through your spine. Draw your navel strongly to your spine as you extend through the crown of your head while the knee draws back. Then I would turn my chest towards the ground. Perhaps left hand can also come to the ground as your spine and chest move forward. Last few deep breaths. And then lift up. Bring your left leg back underneath you. Sit onto your toes, sit into your heels. Roll your shoulders back. Place the hands to the thighs. Roll your shoulders back. Take another full deep breath in and out. And then release that stretch. And come to a standing position. So we're going to take triangle pose and side angle pose. If you like, using the blocks, have those for yourself. Begin in mountain pose with your big toes touching. Legs drawing towards each other and hips compacting in. So after all of that open hip work, we're going to come back to a compact hip while you roll both shoulders back. And just take a full deep breath in and out. For triangle pose next, spread your feet and your hands wide. So you can see how my feet are as wide as my wrists are. I'm going to turn my right thigh in an external rotation, and I push down through both of my feet. And from there, I think about lifting my back and my waist up and away from my hips. And let's prepare the second side with that foot press. So will you turn your feet to the second direction and just practice pushing your 2 feet into the ground, lifting your torso and your spine and stretching out through your arms. And take a full, deep and complete breath. Push your feet, stretch your arms. And go into the first side. So turn your feet, push your feet, strengthen your legs, stretch your arms. Draw your navel to your spine. Keep externally rotating your right thigh. Pull your right hip into your body, right hand down, left arm up. So I push my feet, I firm my thighs, while I extend my spine. Feel your legs strengthen even while you're stretching. So we're really prepared in the hips to be here. We have a firm foundation in the feet from the stretch work. The hips are prepared. Now push those feet, strengthen your legs, and take that last deep breath in your triangle pose. Draw your navel to your spine, push your back foot, and pull your top arm to help lift you out of the pose, and turn your feet second side. So your left thigh externally rotates. That means it spins from the inside out, and you can stretch out through your arms, push your feet, stretch your legs, reach over your left leg, and take your left hand down towards the leg, towards the block support if you use it. Deep breaths. Roll your shoulders back. Push both of your feet, so feel that firm foundation in your feet. Feel that firm press and firm foundation of your 2 feet. Draw your navel to your spine and extend through the crown of your head as you breathe. Press your right foot, pull through your top arm. Draw your navel to your spine as you upright yourself. And one more time with triangle pose. Turn your feet. With this second time, we'll mimic a bit of the Parigasana gate pose work we were doing. Left hand down, right arm up. Draw your navel to your spine. Firm your thighs and lift up through your right arm. So see how I'm actually stretching my right side up, but I'm still strong through my waist. I'm still strong through my hips as I'm side bending. And like I learned in the gate pose, I'm still also turning my thigh in an external rotation. Now with this second time triangle pose, as a standalone pose, right hip cuts in, left or right arm extends out over the right leg. See how I'm firm, I'm pressing through my legs, I'm strengthening my legs, and I'm trying to reach even more over my right leg the second time. So I'm trying to take my hand a little bit lower. Notice how I could be here without my hand touching down. That's how much I'm using the strength of my hips, my legs, my core. I feel long and strong through both of my sides. But that said, do what you need to. If you have problematic joints, you can use a little bit more of the hands, but I would recommend using a block if that's what you feel. If you feel like, oh, I'm just holding myself in my arm, that would be a great reason to use a block. And then I push through my back foot, firm through my navel, lift up, and switch one more time. So it's navel to spine and left arm up. I'm squeezing my leg muscles, I'm spinning my thigh in an external rotation, and I'm just getting a really great prep stretch through this whole left side. I stay strong in my hip muscles. My navel continues to draw in when I go over my left leg. So I would stretch out. Notice how I'm trying to keep my hand off of the leg for as long as I can. I'm creating length through this side as I stretch over that leg. And boy, am I lucky, I have a wall right here. I'm just gonna press for a second. Oh yeah. And then I stretch my hand down towards my ankle. I roll my shoulders back as I lengthen out over my left leg and take that second side. Be in the pose, breathe in the pose. Anchored and firm in your foundation in your feet. I love practicing standing poses after I've done these hip preparations like we did this morning. My hips just don't really like moving this way with my 2 feet on the ground. So having those hip preparations really helps me to actually enjoy being in this standing pose instead of, I don't know, waiting to lie down at the end of my practice. And then I press through my back foot, I pull through my top arm, firm my navel while I pick up. So let's rest in mountain pose. Bring your legs towards each other. So again, that was a spread. That was an open hip pose. So I like compacting my hips and balancing that open hip work after a pose like triangle pose. So I counter it by compacting my hips towards each other and pressing firmly through my feet. And also another way to suck me back in towards the midline in a healthy way, I actually like pressing through my toes and toe mounds, and I like lifting my heels off of the ground. So it's not just like lift, lower, like a calf raise, which some of you might know what I'm talking about, like just a straight up calf exercise. I actually use the lift of my heels to find strength in my inner arches and my inner thighs. And I feel like I'm sucking my heels up from the strength of my inner thighs, my pelvic floor, and my core actually is what I feel strengthening. My inner thighs, my pelvic floor, and my core is what I feel strengthening when I lift my heels up. I teach this in group class sometimes, and I typically don't explain why I'm teaching it. So now you have it in video form, why we do that. So I keep my inner thighs strong and my inner arches strong, my pelvic floor and my core, while I take my 2 heels down. So one more standing pose is extended side angle pose. So I take my feet apart again, have the block handy if you like for your joints. Spin your right foot and your thigh out in an external rotation. I upright my spine. I strengthen through my hips. Let's do the same up arm preparation we did in triangle pose in Utthita Trikonasana. Open your side body, strengthen your hips, press your feet. Stay strong in your hips. Now bend your knee, and I'm tightening my outer hip. I'm thinking external rotation. I'm thinking Parigasana gate pose in my right leg. Then right arm, so notice how I'm going to turn my chest, and my right arm stretches away from my hips. Notice how I have to pull through the stretch of my right arm. I lengthen my right waist, and then I take the hand to either the floor or the block. Let's stay with the T-shape arm. Strengthen both of your hips and breathe. I try turning my chest, navel to spine. From the strength of my hip, I'm pulling my knee back. From the strength of my hip, I'm pulling my knee back. I strengthen back leg, top arm, navel, and I lift up. Second side. So I'm going to prepare, left arm up. Strong hips, strong navel. Bend through your left knee. Strong hips, strong navel. Stretch over your left leg. I'm pulling through my side. This is definitely my stickier side, my weaker side, my more problematic side. So I try to lengthen and turn while I take my hand towards the ground, stretch my top arm up. If that feels like it's paining the neck, you can't get your chest to open, you should just keep your hand on your hip. Take note of what's going on side to side. You know, for me, like I just mentioned, this side is my trickier side. It doesn't like to work as much. I have to really ask more of this bent knee. Breathe as you lengthen your side. I have to ask more of this hip, more of this foot even. So back leg is strong, top arm is strong, navel is strong as you pick up. And turn. One more time. One more time with side angle pose. Utthita Parsvakonasana, arm up. Torso strong, right knee bent, right thigh externally rotating. So even this leg, again, is my problem leg, so I have to even inner arch to inner thigh, strengthen and grip. And it's good to do both sides, even if it's not a problem side. Maybe both sides are a problem side, right? And then stretch and strengthen your back leg, work into your front knee, strengthen your back leg, work into your front knee, rotate. Rotate your chest and stretch. So I'm choosing T-shape arm. You could keep your hand on your hip and roll your shoulder back. I'm choosing head forward today so that we can bring our brain, our focus into the hips. And breathe and roll both of your shoulders back. And breathe and roll both of your shoulders back. Couple more deep breaths into this side angle pose hold. So I have to ground through both of my feet, pull through my top arm, draw my navel to my spine, upright and switch. Final time. So spin, stretch your arm up, prepare, navel to spine, spin your thigh and bend. Work into both of your hips, inner arch to inner thigh, front hip externally rotating and go over. Like notice how I'm turning my chest while I do it. I take my hand down and stretch my top arm and breathe. You could choose to keep your hand to the hip. You could choose to stretch the arm up. Feel your chest open and your shoulders roll back. Feel that firm foundation in your feet. The strength in your hips, the length in your spine, and your wide open chest. Maintain it as you lift up and bring your legs back in. Mountain pose. So I press my feet firmly down, compact outer hips, and attempt to lift your heels from the strength of your inner thighs, pelvic floor, and core. And then 2 feet down onto the ground and relax it. So last, you'll come down for a full bridge work. We're actually going to work on Chatush towards Patush Padasana, 4-footed pose, and then Shavasana. So if you have lights on overhead, hit those so that you can be comfortable. And for that Chatush Padasana, so in other words, this is a cool down. So watch for the demo and then just listen, okay? So the quick demo is gripping the sticky mat, feet hips width apart. You're not just gonna stop with that few inches lifted hip. You're gonna lift your hips more, pull the sticky mat in, and strongly tuck your shoulders under. Okay? So as you grip your sticky mat and press your feet, let your shoulders press down first as your hips pick up. And as your hips pick up, soften your eyes. As your hips pick up, begin to pull into the sticky mat and tuck your shoulders underneath you. Pull the sticky mat with your hands and lift your two hips up. Stay with your breath and come down, take a rest if you need at any point. If you can keep moving forward, let's do it. Stay relaxed in your face and eyes. Press your toes. Keep your feet parallel to each other. Strengthen your inner arches, inner thighs, pelvic floor, and core as you lift your two heels off of the ground. Don't let your ankles buckle out to the sides. Don't let your feet turn. With your heels lifted, draw your knees slightly towards each other. Lift your hips a little higher as long as it feels good in your body, and then take your two heels down to the ground. Keep your hips lifted. Keep your hips lifted. Then relax your hands, release your hips to the ground. Take a deep breath in and out. Second time, make sure your feet are parallel to each other. Grab the sticky mat, pick your two hips up by pressing your shoulders down first. Then walk onto the tops of the shoulders. As you're lifting your hips, pause there. So this is great work to press your heels down and engage your glutes. So a different type of work happens when you press your toes and toe mounds and you start to lift your heels off of the ground. You're gonna feel your hips can lift higher. Okay, and as your hips continue to lift higher, keep your knees towards each other. Keep breathing, keep your hips high. Keep your head on straight. If at any point that you need to look towards my direction for a demo, when you're in this pose, you need to come out. You don't want to turn your head when you're in this shape. Keep your head lifted, keep your hips lifted as you take your two heels down to the ground once more. So your hips stay high as you take your two heels down. Take that last deep breath. And then hips come down onto the ground. Relax your abdomen, relax the grip of your hands. Decide the position of the legs. It can be either knees dropping together, feet staying apart. It could be a bound angle pose, soles of the feet together, knees apart. Or you could just straight away move right out into Shavasana, extending your legs out onto the sticky mat. I'm, after that practice, going to choose to keep my knees together, my feet apart. Make any last adjustments in your body. Make any last adjustments through your neck and shoulders. Any last adjustments through your hips, your legs, your neck, your head. Feel the state of your body now. the state of your body and breathe deeply into it. Breathe into your hips. Your abdomen. Your back. And your chest. Center yourself. Center yourself with your breath. Stay centered, stay grounded. As slowly and gently when you're ready to, you can bring your knees in towards you one last time. And then roll to your side as you lift up and sit. And take your hands together and in front of the heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. And I hope your hips feel great, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.